The offspring test is the smoking gun. It's the evidence that forces us to acknowledge we are not dealing with damaged humans, but with something that operates on a fundamentally different principle. Protecting one's genetic legacy is evolution's strongest command. This isn't a choice or a feeling. It is a deep, primal, neurological, and hormonal imperative, hardwired into our DNA. It's why parents will run into burning buildings for their children without second thought. But with narcissistic psychopaths, there's no special category for offspring. We see the same exploitation patterns as with complete strangers. We see psychological torture, deliberate destruction of children's self-worth. We see abandonment without remorse, children discarded when they become inconvenient. We see sabotage of success, actively undermining children's independence and achievements. And we see golden child scapegoat dynamics, children assigned roles based on utility, not love. The narcissistic mother who sabotages her daughter's wedding because it's her day being stolen. The psychopathic father who pits his children against each other for his entertainment. When the most fundamental biological drive, protecting one's offspring, is overridden, we are not looking at a personality disorder. We're looking at something that processes human relationships through a completely alien software. And this is where our entire psychological establishment has gotten it catastrophically wrong for the past 80 years. This isn't a small dial turned down on empathy. This is a colossal, monumental difference, a whole other species of mind. They are not fragile humans with deep wounds. They are humans who never develop the circuitry that makes wounds meaningful in the first place. What we call narcissistic fragility is a projection error, our software pasted into their hardware. It's like trying to understand sharks using dolphin psychology. Without recognizing others as moral equals, there's no fragile ego to protect. This lack of theory of the mind takes place so early on, before they ever make that leap of acquiring a sense of others, to seeing others as separate entities with equal moral standing. Empathy, object constancy, whole object relations, a functional conscience are literally impossible to form. These things like insecurity, shame, and the need for praise, they don't equate to the same experience. Without seeing others as moral equals, those feelings never take root. These assumptions only make sense if you're wired to register others as equals, whose moral standing counts. If that register never even flickers, then what are we really describing? Because when you see others as a venting machine for reactions, not souls with equal standing, criticism doesn't hurt, it interrupts their service. Praise isn't validation, it's confirmation that the machine works. Insecurity isn't a wound because it is completely irrelevant. These causative theories are projections we created based on how we would become damaged. These theories don't just miss the mark, they are dangerously misleading. They humanize the inhuman, and in doing so, it is handing predators camouflage. Recognize that these individuals shapeshift. We know they can fool psychiatrists, therapists. We acknowledge they position themselves above the rules that govern ordinary human interaction. Yet, we throw this crucial recognition out the window when we create diagnostic subsets based on personality style. Our diagnostic system makes the same error as early biologists who classified whales as fish and bats as birds. We are looking at superficial appearance rather than underlying structure. Overt narcissist, covert narcissist, antisocial, psychopath, as if the costume equals the person, instead of recognizing that the external presentation, whether grandiose, vulnerable, aggressive, or charming, is a facade. They're just acts. They adapt their act to the situation to maximize personal gain, whether through manipulation, deceit, or charm, passive or aggressive intimidation or violence. When we try to focus on these differences of external acts, we are missing the forest for the trees, because the true and terrifying commonality isn't going to be seen amongst their external presentations, but the structures that are missing that we consider human. They wear different masks for different situations. Our attempt to categorize strategic presentations as if they were stable throughout has created decades of false categories and artificial divisions. For thousands of years, across cultures, civilizations, people recognized these patterns. They didn't call it narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder. They called it what it was, a character dysfunction. They were recognized not as mentally ill, but as morally deficient. The ancient Greeks wrote about individuals without thymos, without spirit or moral character. Medieval texts describe these as hardened hearts, incapable of genuine compassion. Victorian physicians wrote about moral insanity, not mental illness, describing these individuals who appeared perfectly normal, even charming and successful, but operated without conscience, empathy, or genuine connection. Ancestors who spoke of evil people or those without souls were more scientifically accurate than our current DSM. They recognized the unified phenomenon that we systemically obscured through clinical fragmentation, which didn't advance our understanding, it weaponized our ignorance and handed predators the perfect camouflage. The birth of the DSM and this clinical revolution didn't just fail to solve the problem, it actively made it worse by stripping away the very language and adding frameworks needed to recognize what we are dealing with. By applying the medical model, psychology assumed that all human behavior variations are disorders. Disorders represent malfunctions of normal systems. Malfunctions can potentially be corrected or treated. Everyone has the same basic psychological architecture. This completely missed the possibility that some individuals have a completely different mental, emotional, and moral framework. Not broken human systems, but functional non-human systems. Both get the same diagnostic label. This is like giving the same medical diagnosis to someone with a broken leg and someone who's a fish. Both can't walk, but for completely different reasons, requiring completely different responses. And their dimensional approach creating this spectrum model that everyone has this degree of narcissism or antisocial traits, this catastrophically obscures the difference between high normal range of human traits and fundamentally different species of consciousness. They are not only not one and the same, they are completely different in kind. It's like putting lions on a spectrum with vegetarian mammals because they both eat, sleep, and breathe. But here's the brutal truth that psychology still refuses to acknowledge. The label isn't the problem because diagnoses don't matter. It changes nothing. They don't get better. You can't retrofit a conscience or grow one later on any more than you can grow a limb. Empathy isn't going to work because they see it as a weakness to exploit. Forgiveness doesn't work because they interpret it as permission to repeat. Understanding doesn't work because we cannot understand something that operates on a fundamentally different principle. They see boundaries as challenges to overcome, information about your vulnerabilities to exploit, instructions on how to hurt you more effectively, and weapons to use against you. Every limit you declare becomes a target. Every no becomes a how can I turn this into a yes? Telling someone to set boundaries with them is like telling someone to reason with a tornado. The tornado doesn't care about your reasoning. It just destroys. These individuals have no red light, no filter, no capacity to receive or respect. You cannot bring humanity to an inhumanity contest and expect to win. It's like trying to make a rattlesnake feel guilty about biting you. It ain't gonna happen. Give one of these predators enough power, and they don't just ruin lives, they ruin nations. History has proven it. Hitler, Stalin, Mayo, they all looked human. They all spoke with conviction. They wore masks of leadership while orchestrating death on a scale the world had never seen. And today, the danger is exponentially greater. With nuclear weapons, AI, cyber warfare, financial collapse at their fingertips, they can end not just an empire, not just a nation, but civilization itself. The tragedy isn't just that these people exist. The tragedy is that we refuse to see them for what they are. We soften it with words, we romanticize their strength, we hand them the power because we mistake ruthlessness for leadership. Recognizing them for what they are and withdrawing your participation from their games may literally be the difference between survival and collapse. The most radical acceptance isn't accepting them. It isn't trying to tame the predator by petting it. The goal isn't to win against them. It's to stop playing a game where the other person is trying to destroy you and was rigged from the start. Because you are worth and deserve so much more. Fight for you, save you, focus on you. Fuck the narcissist, or whatever you want to call them.